Okay. Welcome everyone to the MA Animation Blink of an Eye screening, and I'm going to pass to the student so they can present the event, and I'm going to say a few words afterwards.
Welcome everyone to the online event for the MA Animation at LCC. I'm Jen. I'm one of the hosts. That's Mon. And yeah, we have prepared an exciting event. It's called Blink of an Eye, and it's to show that the whole year went through by like the blink of an eye.
For this event, we'll be showing a combination of our show reels and the trailers for our shorts. And then we will have a Q&A section where some of the directors will answer some questions directly and have a little talk.
But first, let's hear from our course leader, Kim Noche. Kim.
So Kim is our course leader, and she's gonna give us a little talk to open the show.
Sorry, I have disappeared for a moment. Mon, have you done your presentation? Yes? Okay. Welcome everyone. I'm not sure what Mon said because somehow I disappeared from Zoom, but this is the online screening from the graduating student, Blink of an Eye. This is a one-year course packed with very different type of way to experience animation, and the students this year have done the impossible considering the circumstances. The work they produced this year is a very varied in technique and content, very lyrical and poetical at times, and very direct and philosophical others, and in many different style and themes. What they presented here, and I don't know if I've already said that, is a series of show reels and trailers, and then they're gonna do a sort of a Q&A. At the beginning, we will ask them some questions that we have prepared to start the conversation, but then afterwards you will be able to interact as well. If you've got any problem viewing the films as they stream, I'm sorry, I will pass the link on the chat where you can also see them afterwards. And now we're gonna go and show you the first series of trailers and show reels. So Tom, up to you.
Yeah, yeah, zone, yeah, yeah, zone, yeah, yeah, zone. Yeah, yeah, zone, yeah, yeah, zone, yeah, yeah. You. Yeah, yeah, zone, yeah, yeah, zone, yeah, yeah, zone. Yeah, yeah, zone, yeah, yeah. 내 믿음 변치 않음 Trust my rhythm So flow 한가득 보여 내 hidden Style so freedom 촌스러운 것들은
닥치고 just listen.
Whatever you say I don't give a fuck that Can I try to crack 짜여진 틀게나 주라 그래 예의손은 내 자유 혹은 내 차위 던져봐 계란 따위 나는 단단한 바위 네 눈엔 stranger ranger See my challenger danger I'm so major 저는 player 항상 난 머리 꼭대기에 보다 위에 발꿈치 들고 손들어도 절대 닿지 않는 곳에 I heal 꽉 박혀있을게 언제든 꼴릴 deal 와봐 침 뱉어줄게 너의 성마딕만 소인배가식 MP식 대회 꼭대는 거짓 샌드 팔 걷고 나서
Big tone, not son, spitting hot ones, blazing the track, making your heads cock back like a double barrel shotgun.
You have such a lovely son. Are you excited?
And now we will hear a little bit of a Q&A about few filmmakers.
So the first set of questions goes to Jazza. Is Jazza here?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, my username.
No, it's hi.
It's an accident.
Yeah, I really enjoy the graphic multimedia style, the 2-dimensional plus 3-dimensional. You'd be used for your film. What has inspired for you to use it?
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity to share my production. And it's my honor to answer your questions. Yeah, I think as we know, the combination of 2D and 3D animation is not very special in our industry. But what really inspired me is a very great director who named Alberto Melgo. Yeah. I think if you have watched the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, you must be familiar with him.
Definitely.
Yeah, he is a very good artist, both artistically and technically, I think. He's extremely successful. His work gave me a lot of inspiration, whether the structure of his story and yeah, especially his artistic style. And as I know, he encourages artists to use a variety technical and aesthetic methods to make animation. Yeah, I highly recommend his work.
That's great.
He's my idol.
And this complex style of film must be taking a long time to develop. If you were to make the film again, would you do anything different? Would you change anything?
Yes, indeed. I did spend quite a bit time of exploring the style, and the end result, to be honest, it was quite different from what I originally thought it would be. Well, the modeling, texturing, and the rigging, yeah, also took a lot of time. But yeah, one small technical point here that I need to explain that my texture of the chatelet and the material are two separate systems. The materials are based on nodes in Blender to make sure that the light, the color, yeah, as you say, the elements in my animation, all the elements, yeah, the outline and the boundaries are very clear. I hope it can be cartoonish. Yeah, looks more like the traditional 2D animation. Well, textures are based on UV to give my personal style. So if I have one more chance to continue my work or make another project, I hope I can focus on my own style, the oil painting texture or the fine art. Yeah, fine art.
Yes. Would you say that the protagonist presents you in some way, battling the difficulties of blended learning to acquire the truth of knowledge?
Yeah, I think it's a little tricky for me. How to say? Yeah, in fact, I hope the protagonist can represent the concept of the human group. Yeah, as you say, the protagonist doesn't have eyes, mouth, or any specific characteristics. Also, at the beginning of the film, there is a red triangle. Yeah, do you remember the red triangle? Yeah, I put some words in it, and it says that if in the morning I were to gain the knowledge of the correct path in life, I would be able to die at sunset without any regret. It's a very old Chinese proverb. I think it's a hymn to human courage. Courage is the most precious quality of human, I think, especially in such a special period. Many things are unknown to us, such as our current very special learning mode and the uncertainty of the pandemic. But for me, just like the protagonist, even though he was born in the end, he died. He got the truth he wanted. He can't predict the result. So I think what we can do is to have the courage to explore and fight for it. Yeah.
That's such a beautiful saying. Let's stop it there and move to the next.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jazza, for your time.
So the next one is Union. You there?
Yes, sorry. One sec, please. Hello.
Hello.
How are
So,
you doing?
your animation is based on Asian Chinese mythology. So can you talk more about the adaptation?
Yeah. So the film is based on, the story is based on a Chinese Taoism book called Zhuangzi. And the design and the world setting is inspired by classics of the mountains and seas. Classics of mountains and seas, and it's a book that I've been wanting to work for a really long time because it's got such potential. It's a whole book. It's an ancient book of a catalog of the mythologies and kind of creatures and mountains. And the world they describe is fascinating, but the way they wrote it, it's sort of boring because it's literally a catalog. So I've been wanting to show the world in that book, but in my way and in a way that can capture audience and maybe allow people to want to know more about this book after watching it. So from there, we kind of, because there are hundreds of creatures written in that book, we found this one called Dijan. He's a faceless god that has 6 legs and 4 wings. He loves music because he can see, he can hear, he can feel anything but the vibration of sound. And then later down the research, we found a story about him in Zhuangzi. It's a really odd story, and the way they told it was, it's a really dark and humorous story, but they told it in a way that had no emotions. But I just really loved the story, and just combined those two together and made the film.
Great. So how was your journey when visualizing the characters? Like, how did you come up with the character design?
So the characters are both, the original look is both taken from classics of mountains and seas. We, with Dijan, the main character, his description was, he looks like a red yellow bag. And he has 4 wings and 6 legs, there's no face. So we kind of, it's a really nice frame to work around with because there's no image from the book. So we could just do anything, but like only just fits those few requirements. And yeah, that's how we followed the description quite closely to the original text when we're designing Dijan. But the 2 side characters, we couldn't find a lot of information about them. So basically from the original story, the two side characters, one or two of them are both emperors each from North Sea and the South Sea. Really interestingly, in the classics of mountains and seas, we found those two unrelated gods, one's from the North Sea and one's from the West Sea, and they look identical. They're not related at all, but they look identical. So we thought that could be something really good to work with for the side characters. And yeah, we developed from there.
Cool. So what was the most difficult part of the adaptation? You know, the process of adapting the book, or what myth?
The adaptation, I would say, well, quite obviously it would be script writing, because I'm not a really organized thinker, and I would just think about everything that I want to do, and really hard to kind of actually do them in animation. So what I was going to say, yeah, the original story was only 4 lines, and what we thought was the most important was actually the last line of the story. So it's just sort of hard to find the way to do it. And also the way how they told it, it's a fable, but they told it in a really subtle way that when I finished reading the story, I didn't get what they wanted to say. So in a 4 minutes animation, I had to communicate the idea, the message that I thought they didn't really manage to tell really well. And I have to also let the audience to connect and feel for the characters. So yeah, so we kind of rewritten the story and made what I thought was too subtle more obvious. Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you.
And our next director goes to Tadia. Is Tadia here?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, perfect. Hi, Tadia.
Yeah, I never know with like the headphones if it works or not.
Yeah, but the video works fine. So we start with, could you tell us more about the 2 parallel storylines within the film of the month and the woman?
Yeah, so I kind of have 2 storylines that are kind of interwoven with one another. One being the woman and the moth, and the other one being the woman that slowly throughout the film eats the pomegranate. And I worked a lot with symbolism, and the story of the moth and the woman symbolizes the relationship between her and her partner that she wants to hold on to, but she actually isn't able to. And the story of her eating the pomegranate is a symbol for the energy and the life force that she invests and has invested into the relationship, and she kind of slowly eats it away throughout the film. But yeah, I don't want to reveal too much if anyone wants to see the film at some point, because my work is always free to interpret for everyone. So if anyone else has like a different interpretation for the things, I'm happy with that. Even though I got told that the work is quite clear and it's quite easy to understand.
Yeah, I'm such a big fan of the symbolism and the metaphors. So, but let's move to the visual aspects. I can see the influence of your illustrator background on the style of the film with a beautiful composition and bold line work. What techniques did you use throughout the film?
So I mainly work with Photoshop and a little bit of After Effects, and I also did like a 3D model in the very beginning for reference, but I didn't really need it much. For me, it was actually quite hard to develop a specific style for the film, mainly because I have a background in illustration and my illustration work is very detailed. So I usually work with very fine pencil lines and maybe like a little bit of watercolor on top. And I just know that doesn't really translate very well in animation because you have to do so many frames, so you can't do like very fine line work. So yeah, so I decided to do like I also wanted to work with color because I feel like in animation it's, I don't know, it's maybe easier for my topic to with the pomegranate and everything. And so I decided to do some bold line work and some semi-muted colors, and I also put some textures on it to make it a bit grainier. And I mainly worked with rotoscoping, and I also did some like freestyle frame by frame animation. So everything is drawn digitally frame by frame, so a lot of work.
Yeah, I can definitely see the delicate style throughout the film. But is there any challenges you encountered during the making process?
Yes, actually quite a few. So I feel like the biggest challenge was definitely time management, even though I would say that's quite a skill of mine because I know how long things take me. But from our course, I'm definitely not the most advanced and not the fastest animator. So I was like stressing from the very beginning of the workload that I had to do in like such a short amount of time. And so I was working like the whole summer. Like I didn't go back home because I felt like taking 3 weeks off is like too much. And I was right with that. Like I managed to finish, but like some scenes I'm still not happy about. Like I still have to do or like find a new like work with the sound. So it's still not 100% perfect. And so yeah, that is like very challenging. And then I feel like as an animator, like if you don't work in animation, you might not understand how much time it takes to do it and like how frustrating it even can get at certain points. Because some scenes might not work out or like you're just not happy with the result and you've been working like a week on one scene and it's just not not right, or you have to exchange it, or so that is frustrating. And I also had like a bit of a challenge in the very beginning because I actually wanted to do a music video. I always wanted to always wanted to work with music, but then I kind of changed my mind, like quite not late in the process, but yeah, later in the process. And like I was a bit uninspired. Like I really wanted to work with like symbolism and tell a story. And so like the birth, because I didn't really have an idea in the beginning, that was quite hard for me as well. Like birthing the idea and the storyline and like the style, everything.
Yeah, I think the difficulties of making animation is something we can all share.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Benedetta. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello.
Hello. Actually, I haven't shown anything yet, but yeah, for me, I could anyway talk about my project if you
Okay,
want.
well, since we haven't seen it yet, can you explain what your project is about?
Well, I've animated a video about breast cancer, describing the experience of women, but in particular my mom experience, because, well, it was something that I really felt to do, and I felt the need to do it. And we decided together more or less to do it. And well, I look forward to showing her this film because she hasn't seen the film yet. And well, I don't know. I think the better thing would be watch the film first, and maybe if you have any questions, I'm up for answer.
So, what do you expect your audience to take from your film?
Well, I think it's important topic anyway, and it's a great risk for all of women, and I think it's very important to aware the people, and even if we are still young, it's important to share this experience, and also how you can become stronger in a way. And I think for me, the thing I'd like to share is, even if it's a bad experience, you can anyway become stronger and face it. This is a strength my mom had, and this is a sort of rebirth and a positive message in the end. So I hope so. And
Good. Well, hopefully we'll get to see your short in the second set, and then maybe you can pop back up and we can ask some more questions.
Sure. I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
And next we're gonna go and see the second part of trailers and show reels. And if in the case you've got connection issues like I did before, I'm gonna paste on the chat a Vimeo link where you can find all the selection of show reels and trailers we just seen.
Audio Jungle. 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 Audio Jungle.
No rider can control my way.
Who are you? Who am I? If I'm not myself at all, then I may be you. There is a hole in my heart.
The good old days are gone. I only dare to hide in the shadows, in my hole.
I am me.
In that moment of reflection, I realised that he wasn't wanting my possessions, he was wanting me.
Okay, so that's it for all the show reels and trailers. Great work, everyone. And now we'll have the second set of Q&A, and we'll be going back to Benedetta now that we've seen your film.
Yes.
So, great work. Tell us
you.
about, the symbolism behind the film. Like, what do you use to refer to breast cancer?
Yeah, well, the idea was really simple because my mom was in a supporting team for the treatments, and they are called the Lions. So it was easy to change in tiger. And also I think the tiger with the stripes are directly linked to the scar. So I think it was really, really simple, the concept behind it. Yeah.
Sorry, I was on mute. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, if you have any question, I'm here.
Okay, well, thank you very much for answering.
Thank you for asking.
Next up is Alejandro. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi. So, what drove you to make this film?
Well, yeah, at the beginning I was like struggling a lot to find an idea I felt worthy to make an animation about. And then I started to think about the feeling of living through books, movies, like experiencing the world in second hand instead of experiencing it directly. But in terms of how to communicate it, I started to read how other people feel in that way, how it's for people with despersonalization and desrealization disorder, and also philosophy from Schopenhauer to modern day in terms of how we represent the world and what is the nature of reality. And I was kind of doing all of these things to kind of explain that to myself in terms of envision the idea and find a way of how to represent it. And I found one concept that was repeating it all the time. That was this idea of being a spectator in your own life. And I realized that this was kind of the deepest truth I was kind of trying to find. And I decided to build the story and the animation around that concept and that idea.
Good. So tell us about the process of making the film. Like, what methods did you use to create the animation?
Well, I find that using video as a reference, not rotoscoping it, but just as guidance, at the end it's make kind of the animation to be a bit superficial, and this animation needed to be emotional, like animate what the character is feeling, and I needed the animation to come from the inside out of the character. So to decide the visuals, kind of the poses, the angle, the expressions, what I did was thumbnail, like a lot, sometimes for days, kind of trying like acting the actions and making notes in the sketches about how it feels in terms of how you move, how the muscles move, and create kind of a library of expressions and attitude through which to move while animating. Because I didn't feel ready to start until I was kind of secure of how to transmit that idea. And then I create like the timing in exposure sheets, and I use both things like the thumbnails and the exposure sheets as my guidance for the animation.
Okay, interesting. So how did you manage to portray the emotions of the character in a clear way?
Well, I'm not sure yet it is clear. at least I have tried to do the best I could. And it's like really complex. Try to visualize something that is really abstract. So yeah, I don't really know how to say it in terms of how you manage. It's kind of you try to do your best and hope that the audience are gonna get it, or if they don't get it, they get something different, but they get something at least.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, and our next director goes to Demi. Is Demi?
Hi. Hi. Hello. Hi. Thank you.
You have chosen a wonderful poem to work with. What drew you to choose it as the focus of the film?
Well, I like to try new things. Poetry animation for me is that I haven't tried before, so I would like to try this time. On the other hand, poetry mainly through the words expression. I think if I can use audio-visual language to strengthen the expression, will it be more able to convey the emotion? Some emotion is quite abstract, so use this way to strengthen the emotion resilience with the audience. That is what I want to explore. So yeah, overall, it's a good try. Yeah.
I can definitely see like how you try to portray the emotions on the tone. Let's move to the watercolor style of the animation. It goes really well with the poem. What was your journey and inspiration for that?
Well, this poem is very beautiful, romantic, and slowly telling, just like read a book. I think watercolor style can be have a like similar sense of this, like have a romantic and dreamy feel. My theme is to explore the secret of maintaining love. It was inspired by my self-reflection of my own love experience. In pursuing our own love happiness, we always want to know the secret and how to maintain the happiness in hand until forever. So I asked Lucia, who's the point of my animation. She has been in beautiful romantic relationship for 16 years. I asked her what made it work and looks eternal. She has put some her conclusion in his poem written for me. So that's the inspiration.
Yeah, so what would you suggest from the process to those who still is seeking the answer to achieve happiness in love, in romantic relationships?
Well, actually, I can't give advice because everyone is different, but we need to know that that is not an easy thing. Lucia seems to giving me the answer, but it doesn't seem to be. But through this process, I understand that actually there is no secret here to last forever. The relationship must be nurtured like plants every day for it to last. It's a process, not a result. Meanwhile, the most important thing is that to cherish here and now. Don't worry too much about that things haven't happened or may happen. Yeah, that's all I want to suggest.
Yeah, touche. That's what I agree with.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming today.
Next up is Georgia.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Georgia.
Hi, Jen.
Great short. So how did you come up with the charcoal technique?
I knew from the beginning that I wanted to do something black and white because I always watch these black and white films, not specifically being animation. I generally love films. So in this period, I was watching again and again Tarkovsky films and all these poetic films with a great atmosphere. So I started doing some tests with paint on glass, but then I decided that better for me is to have something done on paper. So in case I change my mind with some drawings, I will be able to do it. So yeah, and it was a really challenge for me. Generally, I like to challenge myself to do something new that I haven't done before. So charcoal was a great opportunity to experience for the first time.
It looked really good.
Thank you.
So you said that the whole story is based on personal experience. How did you translate that personal experience into the short film format?
What I did, what I generally do is writing down my emotions. I am very bad in talking about how I feel, so I keep having a lot of notes, the way I feel, and then started making some sketches, translating these words into images. So day by day, I started making a storyboard, adding things, deleting some scenes. And this is why the whole story flows like thoughts. And it is talking about a girl that actually she's not living in the present, and she's lost in her thoughts and memories. So yeah, this is how everything started.
Good. What was the hardest part of making this short?
Honestly, the whole process was a nightmare. I mean, like it took me 1 month actually to figure out how I can use a charcoal. It was really difficult for me to try the charcoal sticks. And so I started animating straight ahead using just one paper. But then the whole thing was too static, so I didn't like the result. And then I ended up drawing the same frame at least 8 times. And the most difficult part was to do the in-betweens, because with this charcoal, you have the problems to erase everything. So I started doing the in-between frames with pencil, and then using this frame with a light box as keyframes, using another paper and doing it again with the charcoal, so I won't be able to lose my keyframes. Yeah, so it was a lot of process.
Sounds very challenging. Oh. Thank you, Georgia.
Thank you, Jen.
So the next director is Sun Yu. Let's welcome Sun Yu.
Hi.
Hi. So it is such a unique and tactile way of making the animation. Why do you choose this method of sewing?
Because this is a question that I'm asking myself so many times, because I could completely do like 2D digital animation, but I feel the message that I want to convey in this film is quite strong and unique. So, and also the thread is a symbol of the relationship of the character in the film. So I just thought maybe I could use some real thread, to convey this genuine and strong feeling. Yeah.
So since you're talking about the thread, is the thread showing a symbolism of the message, or does the color does anything of the symbolism?
Yeah, the thread is represents the relationship between the girl, between the daughter and her absent father. Yeah, that's it.
Is there any interesting things that occurs during the making process?
Yeah, there is. When I start to make the sound, I mean, when I start to think about some sound ideas, I want to record a little bit, like when I'm sewing on the tracing paper. And yeah, I just did it, and I felt it's a really beautiful sound. But on one tutorial, I just showed to one of our tutor, Mario, and after he heard the sound, he just started trembling in front of me. And I thought it was a beautiful sound, but I just didn't expect it could make him feel so uncomfortable.
Maybe he talked about like the background of the attachment or of the sewing process.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to say I know there's most people here haven't seen the whole film, but I just want to say the message in my film is just don't forget to spend more time with the people you love and care, even though you're busy. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. That's a
Thank
beautiful
you.
message. Thank you, Sunyu.
Next up, Alison.
Hello, Jen.
Hello.
Everyone.
So, you're short. You
Yes.
use two different methods of animation. You use traditional animation and rotoscoping. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, it does. Well, basically, I want to describe my film, which is based on the events that actually happened back in 2019, like the Hong Kong protests. Well, the film actually overall is done in 2D digital, like including the rotoscoping part as well. But well, it divides, like the film is divided into two parts. So the first part is showing the nightmare of the girl, like the girl has, which is about her future of Hong Kong. She's afraid of having. So well, this part is fictional, so I just keep the 2D digital way, like the way I used to animate. But the second part is the rotoscoping, because it's actually showing the actual events that actually happened back in 2 years ago during the Hong Kong protests. Well, it's rotoscope is also because I would like to add some personal opinions and emotions into it. So it's done in an artistic, dreamy way, I would say, like compared to the first part, it's more dreamy and abstract. But for the dream part, so it's like the first part of the animation, it looks more realistic. So it's just to play around with the boundaries between reality and a dream.
Good. So I've noticed that besides the different kinds of animation, you also have a different use of color. Is there a reason behind that?
Yes, colors are the most important thing I use to express my emotions and personal views. So for a dream part, it's mostly in gray, but also I highlighted some reds as well due to some, you know, something political, like the meaning of it. So the overall, the atmosphere for the dream part is quiet and calm, and there actually aren't people talking during the dream part. So it's to show how I feel Hong Kong as before the protest, which is like very dull and boring. But during the rotoscoping part, like the protest part, it has more colors than the dream part, like different shades of yellows, orange, for example, and like the colors of the umbrellas are different as well. Like there are blues and greens as well. Is to show that different events during the protests had added colors to the city, so that, yeah, from those colors, I see the unity and the livelihood during the protests.
Good. So what would you like your audience to take away from your short?
Yes, unfortunately, it's not a good idea to be recorded and to show my full film here. But well, what I want to convey is that well, even though it's already been 2 years since the Hong Kong protests, but as a person from Hong Kong, I would like to remind people that, especially Hong Kongers, not to forget what we protested for. Even though Hong Kongers' freedom and human rights are being suppressed, we should never forget the power of unity, no matter where we are, and that we actually have written a part of our history.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the next director goes to Erin. Is Erin here? Hi, Erin.
She was 2 seconds ago.
Yeah, I remember.
Maybe the line fell.
Yeah, so shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah.
First? Okay, so Sarah. Is Sarah here?
Hi, yes.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
All good, and you?
Good, good. So what inspired you to make the film?
I cannot say that my inspiration comes from a very romantic source. I mean, doing a film about gender violence is hard, and I think my inspiration basically comes from my emotions that with gender violence are basically anger, frustration. I don't have positive feelings about that. I don't think anyone can. And also the inspiration is not my personal story, so the inspiration also comes from my friends, from my family, from the statistics, from the stories on gender violence, from the situation in my country, and from fear, unfortunately. So yeah, basically I think my inspiration comes from everywhere.
Of course. How did you find a balance between not being explicit with the material, but also keeping in authentic?
That was a bit tricky, to be honest, because in a way I wanted to be really bold in the way of showing the violence, and I wanted to be very clear what was happening there, because I didn't want to have to make predators have the chance to ignore what is happening. Like, I didn't want them to pretend that they didn't understand that what I was showing was violence. But on the other hand, I knew that if all the short was like really explicit and bold, people are not going to be comfortable looking at it, and they will look away. So what I thought it was for the balance, it was more about, okay, balancing the visual things and also the emotions that can bring these visual things. So I have scenes that are literally the violence. For example, I have a scene of a wank in the train. That's super clear what's happening. And also I have another ones that are more about the feeling, for example, the feeling of being crushed and the feeling of being stepped on. So I think that like stabilize a bit. And also I have to say that the testimonies were a huge help, because I had like different types of testimony. I have ones that were like super straightforward, that a woman saying I was raped, beaten, and stalked in a relationship. So that's like really bold and straight. And I have other one that it's more, for example, written as a poem that in the end just said things like, when I met him, it was the beginning of the fear. Well, that's a horrible translation that I just made, but it was something more about the emotional pain. And then I have other ones that are literally the description of the pain as a feelings. I have a woman saying like, it was like bang, 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 bang the whole time. So the testimonies are also like this balance between description and abstraction. I think that helped me a lot with that too.
So what actually answered a lot about the next question I was going to ask is, how was the experience of reaching out and talking to women that are survivors of sexual assault?
Oh my God, it was tiring. It was very hard. It was frustrating. It was terrifying, but it was also very, very beautiful. Like at the beginning, I was really scared of like respecting the woman that I was going to talk about, and I didn't want like I just want them to feel comfortable with me and sharing and knowing that I was going to respect the testimonies. And then I wanted to honor them. I was like really scared, like, okay, now I have all these testimonies. The film needs to be really good, because if not, they are going to be like really hurt that I mock of them testimonies. And then in the other part, it was really beautiful because I had like a lot of support, and I had a lot of people like trusting me, people that I didn't even knew, and people that are my friends as well. That was really hard as well. And yeah, I had like a lot of community in the video calls. We just kept talking for hours after they just told me one of the most painful experiences in the world. So yeah, I think it was a roller coaster, to be honest.
Of course. Yeah, that's almost the question there. Thank you so much, Sarah, for such a beautiful film.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, can I have like, I have a question if I can ask. And why did you choose the purple as main color?
I choose the purple because it is deeply associated to the feminist movement and to feminism in general. So I just wanted to have that color palette like permeating the whole theme to maintain this idea of freedom, of equality, of feminism. And I just changed, like made a few tweaks with other colors to have like some contrast in the film.
Yeah, I saw you try to underline some scene with the lighting as well, and I totally feel you because, well, I try to use the pink color because it's the color for the breast cancer awareness. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
So now is Irene there?
Yeah, hi, sorry, my iPad literally shut down because I had 1% and I didn't even notice that.
Awful
So.
time. Oh, so let's talk about your film. What inspired you to make it?
So my film is about body shaming and our journey through acceptance. And it's inspired about the story of my life, but is actually inspired by the story of most women out there. My art has always been about body positivity, body shaming, women's sexuality. So in my artistic journey, I've had a lot of women opening up and telling me the way they've been struggling to accept their body. And I've learned that it's literally not about the way you look. It's not about being skinny, being curvy. It's not about your background or your age, but it's literally about being a woman. Like, we all struggle to accept our body because we are taught how to hate our body and know how to love it and appreciate it since we are young. So that's why my inspiration come from.
Yeah, that's great. So can you tell us more details about the way you came up with the character and the character design?
Yeah, so the character, at the beginning of the film, the girl is around 9-10 years old, and I wanted to start representing this feeling of body shaming already from the age, as I think, it's a bit everywhere like that, but in Italy, especially where I come from, since you're very young, you start feeling that pressure. And even myself, like, I remember when I was 9-10 years old, I already would stare at myself in a mirror and think I had big belly, how I would get skinnier for the summer. And so that's why I wanted to represent a character that already from young age go through this. And going ahead with the film, she grows up and she goes through teenage, and this feeling gets heavier. And it's like the more you grow up, and it get worse, So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I totally get that. So what effect do you expect this to have on your audience?
Well, I've had friends that wouldn't go out, wouldn't go to uni because they had spots. Friends that wouldn't date because they felt bloated, or they wouldn't go on a date because they thought they would eat too much at dinner. And this is what I don't want. Like, I want women to understand that there is wasted energy and wasted time. Like, these are the best years of our life when you're young, and you cannot punish yourself because you think you're not enough, because you don't accept yourself. Like, it's literally every energy that you spend worrying about your body is wasted. So that's what I'd like women to understand. And it's not easy because self-acceptance, the journey through self-acceptance is not an easy one. But the more we speak about it, and it's good even to understand that all other women feel the same way, because women most of the time are jealous as well. Like, you see other women like, oh, I want to have that body, I want to be like that. But trust me, it's everyone struggles somehow for a reason or another. So yeah, I'd like women to understand that they are not alone when they feel like that, and they should learn that confidence and beauty is literally not in the way you look, but is more in your state of mind. Like the moment you understand that you need to accept yourself and you gain that confidence, is there that you become beautiful, you know? So that's a bit the moral of the story.
Great message. Great message. Thanks a lot, Irene.
Yeah, I just
Thank
want
you.
to say that I really appreciate your story, because I feel you in a way, because my sister was to be much skinnier than me. So I always compare me with her. And also I'm trying like this journey of acceptance. So I think it's a good way also to learn from your best values and best skills, and to try to see the best you've got. So
yeah. Well, to be honest, I had like not much people have seen my film yet, but those few women they were like, how did you know I felt like that? How did you know, like that scene was me when I was young? How did you know that? I'm like, that's everyone. That's everyone go through that in a moment of their life somehow for different reasons, but we all go through that. So
Okay, so now we have a short section where if anyone in the public wants to ask any questions, just click the raise your hand button and you can connect your mic and ask anyone anything.
Or if you don't want to talk, you can. Oh, sorry, Sasha.
Hi. No, it's certainly really interesting to see what the trailers and form your own sort of opinion of what the film is about, and then hear from our directors of the deeper intentions. Really enjoyed for everybody who's spoken so far. I know that my parents are watching currently the Q&A session, and they really enjoyed yours more characters in the trailer that they've seen. Mon.
Oh yes.
Yeah, you.
I was
sort of intrigued by the dark faces and the sort of these emotional designs you've made. What's the idea behind your dark, mysterious creatures?
Yes. For this film, I want to make it like a symbolic fable, because in this world, everyone lives within a huge building. Like there's no other world but just the building, and the main story happens within the elevators operator's family. So it's more about how to say ironic fable to the whole world, because within this building, even though it's like a wonder world or a non-realistic world, but the basement is an orphanage that caught on fire, and the rooftop is an ocean, but no one is allowed to talk about that. So it's a bit political there. So because it also has a hierarchies within the building. So that's the main storyline.
They're gonna have to watch that.
Wait until I finish the whole thing.
And just to know, how long did you take to make the character design? Because you made them, so I have no idea because I haven't tried. But yeah, so
yeah, that's actually very struggling for me, because before I was not good at making clothes at all, but I'm used to making puppets that take about a week for each puppet.
Oh my God,
and the clothing, yeah, I was thinking before.
And I can imagine that you've done some tests before.
Yes, the teaser, but that's pretty simple because only the hand is movable. So that's only like 3 days to make the puppets.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, like during the COVID circumstances, I was before thinking ask a friend who is studying fashion design to make the clothes for me and ship it to UK, but it's taking forever.
It would be great then.
Yeah, and race to the next question or topic we can talk about is like how we are feeling about the COVID situation, making animation in a such special and tough year.
The struggle. Definitely. I know many of us will agree, not even the ones creating animations here.
Definitely. Huge struggle.
huge struggle, especially in this period with all the Christmas lights, and I couldn't go out. So, well, it was exhausting, but I think it's worth it in the end. Also because staying at home, you're more concentrated in your work, so without distractions, and in a way, it was good.
If there's any question for general or for directors, just to typing or just raise your hand.
Yeah, sorry to pop in. I don't have a question, but I want to say that for me, the challenging part with COVID was to actually get the testimonies and get them online, because I didn't know how people was going to trust me behind like a post on Facebook or something like that. So for me, like find a way to make people trust me and seeing as a person rather than just a post online was a bit of a challenge.
Since Sarah and Demi is having interview or interactions with the people involved in the film, did you guys show the film to the testimonials or the poets directly?
Yeah, I feel that, and my parents really satisfied about it and always support me. That's really nice. And well, yeah, I'm so proud of it because this actually is my collaboration with a foreigner. I'm quite shy actually, but during this process, we reaction each other, and I know the actually at first the poem write the point for me. I actually don't understand the meaning. Actually, I feel quite embarrassing, and during this time, she just explained it for me. At first, I feel have a culture shock at first, and finally we figure out it and feel really good. Yeah, that's I want to share. Thank you.
And Sarah, did you share the whole film into the testimonials? Sorry, the interviewees.
Yeah, I haven't shared with all of them because I haven't managed the time to send it to all of them. I have a lot, but I feel really touched by one of the women who sent her testimony, because she was like, first she was surprised, like, oh my God, you really did it. And I was like, yes, of course. I'm not gonna waste like all the testimonies I got. Of course I did it. And and then she was like thanking me for doing it. She was like, oh, really, thank you for this. This is huge, and this is important. And I don't know, I just said to her, like, she doesn't need to thank me, but it was nice.
Good. Any other questions?
There's not any other questions. I just
there
wanted
is
to
a
say,
question in the chat. What do we suggest to junior animators? Don't leave everything for the end. Yeah, get ahead of it.
Our course leader is thumbing it all up. But no, certainly, especially now that's since COVID, that's the first graduations we've sort of had, which felt a bit unusual because we actually had to prepare for the graduation and making the films.
Yeah. Like, I know it feels sometimes that you're invincible and you can get everything done at the last minute, but it's not true. Like, don't believe that.
Yeah, don't underestimate how much time everything takes. It'll take months, months and months.
And leave time for problem shooting.
Yes.
You don't know what will happen in the end.
also take a break from it. I know mine has played, but I'm surely going to be working further on it after my eyes get some rest from seeing it for about 3-4 months straight without any changes, and then get back to it and finish it.
I think the best thing would be try to do new things, but at the same time show always yourself and not compare you with others and go in your own way, because anyway this is a thing you have to enjoy in doing it. It's long, it takes a long time, so you have to enjoy it. But
yeah, and for me, I would say that even if you don't know how to do things, just do it and learn to do it. For me, I just basically just pretend I know how to do things, but I really don't know how I'm doing it, and I just start like trying. If you don't try, you're not gonna make it. So just imagine the things as you want it to be and try to learn it on the way. And if it doesn't work, you just start again or delete it. But just try to do the things you like, even if you don't know how to do them.
I think on that, kind of understand that like you're constantly becoming a better version of your practice, of your like skills. So kind of accept that maybe the things that you're doing right now are only like one stepping stone in becoming more. And that's something that I've had to sort of try and accept, being quite a perfectionist, is that sometimes there are so many factors involved in making film. It takes a long time. You're like, personally, like I've found it's been a massive learning curve, and my skills aren't as up to the visions that I have that I want to sort of portray in my films. But kind of accepting that you can get to that point if you just take the steps that you need to take to get there and sort of try. And by trying, you're always going to get further than if you didn't.
Yeah, I want to add something to that because I'm quite a perfectionist myself, and I actually struggled with this project because, as I said, like I have an illustration background, so animation is new to me, and in illustration I'm like an absolute perfectionist, and like I don't know, I have control in an illustration, but I don't have it in animation. But I feel like what is important is that maybe don't be too self-critical, because other people might not notice the mistakes that much as you do yourself. Because you, like, if you work on a project, like you, I don't know, I'm so not happy with where I'm at with my project, because I'm like, oh my god, this is like 1 second too long, and this is like not nice, and I want to change that. But like other people might not even notice that if they just see your film once or your animation once, they don't even notice.
Yeah, you live with your film for months and years, and you kind of get used to finding those things where you know it should be something different, or you're so used to seeing it and you kind of forget that the person seeing it for the first time is going to take everything, take the ideas as face value. They won't know other things that you may or may not wanted to have included. Yeah.
For me, it's just like animation is a very lonely process, especially during COVID. So sometimes I would be doubting, is my story worth it, or is my process worth every work I have done? But in the end, I will tell myself, yes, like remember the first snap of the story or the first passion, like where it's like, yes, I want to create this thing. I want to make it perfect. I want to like tell this to the world. Just remember that flash in the head or in your heart.
Well, if there isn't any more questions, I guess we can just...
Yes, no, wait, sorry, I have one.
Go for it.
It is more like a general question, because I I struggle with that a bit. Like when the story is very close to your heart, how do you manage to not be very like, do not let the story consume you? Because at some point my testimonies were consuming me, and I have them like tattooed on my brain, and I was washing the dishes and I was hearing the testimonies in my head. So how do you cope with that kind of things?
I was talking to another friend and he gave me a really good recommendation. It's if you feel like you are like drowning into the story, you just feel like you switch your whole persona to the audience, your audience to this film. You're not a director. You're not like that attached to the story, and then have like a step back to see like, oh, did I go good? What's the structure? What's the technical like problems or whatever there?
Yeah,
personally, sorry, because as I was saying, like many women have been sharing like even things of anorexia, bulimia, and some of them like stuff that went through abuse as well. And to me, like it gave me even a bigger strength to keep doing what I'm doing as an artist and keep sharing these stories and keep sharing like these stories to actually sensibilize people, you know. So I guess, yeah, it's painful, but you can get the strength to keep going and keep doing what you love as an artist.
Yeah,
well.
that happened to me. That happened to me as well. That's true.
But yeah, some of the story, like, yeah, you obviously get touched by them.
I see a hands raising by Piak, if I pronounce it right.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
So I have a question about how was the process with the audio, with the sound. So there were parts, I don't know, that maybe you did your storyline and then you decided like for some I don't know, I think for some stories to get the message through, the sound makes like, it has a lot of importance and a lot of impact. So I don't know, like how did you decide, like this is a question in general, but I mean for the short film that Sarah made, like I don't know how she decided, like what was the process for her to decide what tone she wanted the voice to be for all these women and like the situation that it's happening in Mexico and in all over the world. But or if maybe you decide a sound and then the film doesn't like hit in the right spot, or like how did you decide where to cut and then continue with the film?
Okay, yeah, the audio was a crazy process for me, but it was super important. I think it was like literally half of the project for me, at least. So I decided almost from the beginning of the film that I wanted to work with testimonies. Honestly, I don't know why, but I was like really stubborn. Like I want to use testimonies and I want to have them in many languages, and I want to do this mashup of voices and testimonies. So first, I wanted to give them 100% priority to them, of course. But I also give the women the freedom to choose what they wanted to share with me. Like I didn't want them to share specific things. Like they could share like anything they want. So I couldn't, like, I didn't know what was I expecting. And then I had like many types of testimonies. Some of them, they were like, I don't know, 11 minutes of an audio describing an abuse. Other ones were just a phrase. Other one were more like a poem. And other one, the women sent me the testimonies, but they didn't want to record it. So I asked other people, for example, to just read me this. Like, can you read me this in, like, this testimony, I don't know, is from Egypt. Can you, we have a classmate from Egypt, and I ask her, she's in the credits, and I ask her like, hey, Nura, can you read this for me in Arabic? So I had like this variety of voices, and it was really hard to choose because I had a lot, and some of them were really long. So for example, there was the part of the Metro one. There's a testimony that says his penis felt like a piece of metal, and for the audio I wanted to feel like this metal, and as he's in the metro, like the audio of the metro rails metal is like super high to make like this tension, because we wanted to create like the sound, the universe of the sounds. And also then I kind of changed of a sound designer halfway through it, and the new sound designers, like they were like, do you want the music? First I didn't want music because I didn't want to set a tone on it and like to make it I don't know, music always talks about emotions, so I didn't want it to centralize in certain emotions. And I was a bit afraid of that, and I say like, I don't know, you propose me something, and they propose something like, I don't know, it was so perfect. Like when I heard, my mind was like, because it wasn't like no melodic, it was like just the rhythm and it gets stuck in your head, and I don't know, I think it was perfect, but it was like a very detailed work that we have to go over and over again until it get it like to the testimonies and the narrative and the universe of the sounds, and it was really hard, honestly.
Yeah, I can imagine. But congratulations to you and to everyone.
Thank
they were
you.
Really good projects.
Well, if that's it for the questions, I guess we are ending it here. Thank you everyone for showing up and asking the questions, and for the nice comments as well. And thank you for all the artists that have presented their work and agreed to do the Q&A. And thank you, Mon, for being my co-host.
Thank you, Jennifer, for being my co-host. It's been lovely.
Thank you, guys, especially Monsien and Jen, that you are already planning everything for today. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and pleasure for organizing the whole online event as well.
And see you tomorrow, guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
And thank you, Kim, for being here as well.
Oh yeah, thanks, Kim, for the nice words at the beginning.
Yes. And sending tags during the event as well. The links and everything.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Have a nice evening. See you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, guys.